Oh, hell yeah! Greetings, I am Solidus-Skully, and welcome to the final part of the Streets of Rage 2 commentary. This section of the level is completely fucking pointless, but holy hot damn do I love this fucking theme song. It's kind of a precursor to the musical style they have in Streets of Rage 3, but never mind that, because, yeah, the theme song is fucking excellent. By far my favorite soundtrack in the game, and, yeah. I mean, it does punctuate a very similar note that the first game ends on, you know, with the whole elevator sequence slowly reaching up to reach Mr. X's penthouse. This time it's going up from the robot factory down to, well, his penthouse suite on his very Dr. Eggman-esque looking secret base. Yeah, it's kind of weird actually, like, I mean, I never made the connection before, but it does kind of resemble Eggman's base in the Mystic Ruins, so, yeah. Kind of tying in with some of the more science fiction influences that, well, Streets of Rage's plot tried to downplay, but then the second game sort of brought back, and 3 goes really overboard with, although, again, for those fans complaining that Streets of Rage 3 sucks, yeah, where did it come from? The success of Streets of Rage 2. It's almost as if some elements that are bad get their roots with something good. As is the perspectival nature of truth, abandoning the poison of choice and choicelessness. Free will versus fate. That became a little bit too philosophical for this commentary, but again, I am back after having a couple of drinks, so I do apologize if this commentary is a bit rambly, but you only got me for 17 minutes, so fuck it, you're gonna have to deal with me. Just like we dealt with that fucking jetpack guy. Yes, this is also an elevator sequence where they reuse a bunch of enemies. Not gonna be quite as bad as a little bit later where they reuse some boss concepts, because fuck it, pad out the game. Gotta make sure that kids don't rent it, otherwise we won't get sales. Because this was back in the day when, you know, you could go to video shops and rent stuff as opposed to today where we have fucking games as a service where you don't actually own shit anymore. Because fuck people. Wow, that was fucking cynical. But I mean on a... Again, I don't mean to get on my soapbox in regards to the game industry, but games as a service. Yeah, very cynical about that, but then again, this is also the point in time where today's current day and age is basically phasing out the me generation in favor of the young kid generation who doesn't know fucking shit because they're fucking children and as such will pretty much fuck over our society because, as expected, with our skills becoming less and less developed, we're basically heading towards doomsday, so enjoy the last vestiges of civilized society as we all gradually crumble into chaos and anarchy and/or skill lack of development, at least until we lose our internet privileges, in which case we all riot. I realize that this entire pod is probably going to become granddad rants about today's kids, but fuck it. I'm getting older and older, and as such I'm going to become more violent, cynical, and angry and demand access to a time machine, so that I may fuck up the continuity of the Earth and whatever. I'm sorry I have to beat the shit out of you. Again, I'm sure that's just a Japanese woman's battle cry, but it sounds like Blaze is legitimately tearing up as she has to rip through foes, even though she was quite happy to, actually, because I believe in... I think it might have been like either the digital manual or probably some context from Streets of Rage 4. Yeah, one of the reasons why she stopped her little dancing business was because somebody tried to touch her ass. And, yeah. She ain't a big fan of that, as I'm sure nobody would be, because, yeah. Basically, Sonic says, say no to drugs and/or say no to getting touched in very sensitive areas. If you couldn't tell, I'm padding out for time. Because the only interesting part of this little elevator sequence is, well, something that happens by the time you reach the top. Again, I have commented before about this, but I do like the sense of progression from day to night. It kind of has like a bit of a Kirby... What fucking game was it? Adventures in Dreamland? Or it was one of the NES ones, one that, I think was after the first game, Adventures in Dreamland or something or other. Basically, where pretty much went from, like, one time of day to another, and it made for a very nice effect. Anyway, oh my god, robots! That's it, Streets of Rage is literally ruined. I'll make a video essay, and then, you know, everybody will fucking love it, or, you know, give me money, or give me bitches or some fucking shit. Oh no, ruined forever, 0 out of 10, angry video game shit. Because, you know, apparently, despite the fact that, you know, angry game reviews are out now, don't worry, make a video essay where something is literally garbage! Freaking fucking garbage! And, you know, you'll get all the money and the fame, and, you know, apparently it's revolutionary because people aren't old enough to disseminate that entertainment is terrible, and, you know, we should all just fucking die, really. Anyway, these robots don't really have much of an attack pattern, so as enemies they're just kind of a bit shit, really. They'll fling around their maces. Apparently Mr. X wasn't really thinking very hard about how to give them laser blasters. I don't know, stronger metallic armor than this. I mean, apparently Blaze can just punch them and, you know, then they'll just explode like fucking tissue paper with nitroglycerin in it, so fuck it. I mean, really, the most important and annoying thing about this fight is that they hop around like they're a fucking kangaroo on its wedding night. So, yeah, just wait for it to hop around, get in your clutches, and fucking slam the shit, man. Oh no, and then there's the knockback, but oh no, you can't hit me because you don't want to know. Because apparently you just need to stop fucking doing shit. Come on, your death is inevitable, stop delaying what will happen to us all in the end. And now we got in the way of the title sequence, so yeah, our characters interrupt the foreground or the background elements, which is to say our title sequences. Interesting to know, I didn't know Mega Drive games were structured that way. I wonder if this happens in other games, actually. An experiment for a later time, when I've had a few. And now we've reached the final level of the game, the Mr. X boss fight followed by a bunch of other fucking shit in between, because, you know, we couldn't just fucking get to the boss fight, save, you know, Adam, and just be on our way. No, we have to pad it out with more enemies that we fought before and weaker versions of the fucking robots. Good-o, excellent game design, not wasting our time at all. You know, gotta make sure that the kids who play the game, you know, don't rent it. No, it's not as if the quality of a fucking game design will tell them to purchase the game on, you know, the merits of how fun it is. No, padding! Throw everything at them, fucking whatever. You know, it's not as if they could rent the game next week. They might have a meager amount of fucking pocket money, but if they're addicted to video games, as many people are in this day and age, then God knows they'll buy something that's good. You know, rather than just throwing a Russian bear in a green fucking nappy. Anyway, this is also where I die, because Russian bear in the original game had 1 life. Oh no, now I have to put a name in, which he can't do anything, so he can only do something like Han Puas, or whatever the fuck you want to fucking put in there. And as I mentioned in part 1, yes, this is also where you can select which character you want to put in. You can either be Blaze, Max, Axel, or, Eddie. I don't know why I'm calling him Eddie, the game calls him Skate, but I'm sure that probably has some sort of racial connotation which will invariably bring up a video essay on, oh, is Streets of Rage racist? Because black kids using skating gear is stereotypical. Allegedly. I mean, it couldn't possibly be for the fact that they happen to like extreme sports. Dearie me, they're probably committing crimes of magnitude. Because of course they are. Why would you even assume that? Anyway, on to less cynical and bitter matters that influence me to not drink, except it does. Because I've led my life to bloody shambles. Because your life feels like a movie. Yeah, we basically get Paddingham fucking boss fights. Groovy. Thank goodness for beat-em-up games. A genre game that did so much less successfully in the 3D era, primarily because the gameplay loop is, well, not very well handled in 3D spaces. Until they refine the controls. So yeah, we're just pretty much having a boss rush. Excuse my cynicism, but yeah, like, I mean, it's decent enough in terms of testing your skills, but I mean, padded content is padded content, so I mean, really depends on how you want to set your game up. Do you want to have, like, a well-built finale with challenges specifically designed for that finale, or do you just want to fucking throw everything in the kitchen sink? Like with fucking Souther, Zamza, Blanca, or whatever the fuck he's calling himself these days. Honest to God, I'm surprised Capcom didn't want to get a word in about fucking Blanca getting ripped off here. Actually, I mean, to be completely honest, I'm surprised they didn't put in, like, some sort of Poison ripoff. Although, I mean, you could argue that they probably did with the, Electra, or the, you know, the fucking, prostitute whip, ladies. Well, and again, that probably would have created a ton of issues for today's day and age, which probably would have put them in even more hot water, like with Poison today. Anyway, onto less cynical thought patterns. We finally defeated... No, wait. Still got a second health bar because of fucking course he does. And that does actually kind of lead into a bit of a thing with Streets of Rage 3, actually, in terms of its difficulty, but I think that'll be best explained for then, so in the meantime, let's defeat Blue Blanca. Does Blue Blanca need a blanket now that he's been beaten up? Oh, no, probably not, because we got to be beaten up by Garcia and Raven, or fucking Dick Cheese. And that's the version of the Ultimate Warrior, who will shove that control into a nosedive, Hulk Hogan, because now he has a sunburn. And you'd think that makes him weaker, but no, I think he actually has more health bars than... So, yeah, fuck it, we just gotta beat him, and that's that. Like, I mean, I will say that, I mean, for as much cynical rambling as I'm doing here, it is a more fair traversal towards Mr. X than what you would have had in the first game, where, you know, you had the whole... Unless, of course, you were playing two-player, obviously, like, oh, yes, you could work for me, except, fuck you. Go back a couple of stages to prove, and then, yeah, you know what, fuck it, I'll beat you up anyway, because fuck it. We couldn't be bothered to program a third ending. I mean, again, this game doesn't have alternate endings, which is why I'm probably not going to be showing off the other characters unless I can be asked, which I probably can't, so fuck it. Anyway, this is, Shiva. He basically kind of reminds me of the Kingdom Hearts 1 design of Squall Leonhardt, except, well... yeah, he's pretty much Mr. X's dragon, so to speak. So yeah, he's pretty much his sidekick, trusted number 2. Anyway, he's a powerful foe to defeat. Not impossible, mind you, but again, a fair and firm challenge. Kinda making you wonder why he didn't, you know, be the primary challenge as you know, gradually ascend to the elevator, built up towards, you know, what Mr. X was doing. Hell, I don't know, maybe he had, like, Axel forced against his will to fight against Blaze or whoever you played as? That could have been more interesting than doing a fucking boss rush. But anyway, by the time we defeat Shiva, then we can face off Mr. X himself, which is basically his final boss in the first game again. Whoopee. Yeah, but again, it's a bit of a rehash of the first game in terms of the final levels of the game, so... a bit disappointing, and, well, I mean, apart from Shiva to spice things up, yeah, not really much to it apart from just do the first game's final boss again, except this time you have Streets of Rage 2 abilities, so that's good. And again, like, I mean, while I'm not cynical about Streets of Rage 2 as a whole, it is... well, I mean, I suppose I'll save it for the credits, but, again, it's... I wouldn't say it's bad, but I will say it's the game in terms of the series as a whole that I find the least interesting. It's good as a chill-out game, I enjoy playing it, you know, after a stressful day at work, or, you know, if I just want to relax and have fun. But at the same time, though, I would rather turn my head towards, you know, Streets of Rage 1 just for that pure simplicity, or Streets of Rage 3 for a lot of the variances in gameplay that, though a bit more flawed than the other games in the series, I find interesting to talk about, and more importantly, interesting to play. Anyway, as for Mr. X himself, he's pretty much the same moveset he had in the first one. He'll fire off his machine gun, go in a certain pattern, he'll pretty much bash you up. That does have, like, a very, you know, powerful attack about it, so... yeah. Although I do say that I do take him out in this run, rather interestingly. I use Donovan against his boss, which means that Donovan, might have been fired by his boss, but considering what happens to Mr. X and his brain, yeah, he, goes back to college, gets a good job, supports his family, his moms, and then he raises a family, has a loving wife, a good son, and things work out well for Donovan in the end. He will never forget the knock on the head that Blaze gave him to give him a good start in life. He might have been crap as a child, but as an adult, he made something of himself, and that's what I recommend you do to you. And throw, and there we go. Mr. X is dead, Adam is saved, and yeehaw, whoopee, yippee-yo, kaye, we won. Whoa-ho! Oh man, I got so many points, I'm gonna tell everybody that I got a big high score in Streets of Rage 2, and then they're gonna praise me and tell me to fuck off and die. Which I will. Now then, because I'm completely mature, I'm gonna put in ass. Truly, I am a master of wit and urbane comedy. There we go. I will admit though, like, I mean, a lot of the ending shots of Streets of Rage 2 does hold a certain charm to it. I mean, again, you rescue the guy from the first one, and, you know, gets cuddled by his brother, and all is good, because after all, there is no accounting for tastes. So anyway, that's Streets of Rage 2. Fun beat-em-up, improves massively over the first game, has a lot of interesting mechanics and fighting abilities, and again, as a whole, I can see why people consider this to be, you know, a masterclass of beat-em-up games. It's not my favourite in the series, but again, in terms of being a very linear structure, it improves over what it needs to from the first one and adds a few new bells and whistles and gameplay mechanics. So I mean, really, it's a pretty solid game. I just feel that though, Streets of Rage 1, in terms of its simplicity, again, it does just as well as this one, because beat-em-up games, by and large, are, well, very simple games to grasp. And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Streets of Rage 2 is just as good, if not slightly better than the first one. In terms of objective quality, it's just that, well, again, for me, in terms of being my favourite game in the series, Streets of Rage 3 just adds a little something that, though a little bit more flawed. In terms of what it experiments with, it just makes it a much more rewarding experience when you overcome the challenges in my eyes, so yeah. Streets of Rage 2, not bad, but not my favourite, so yeah. I mean, this was admittedly a bit of a filler commentary and not my best, so I do apologise if my cynical ramblings on my lack of anything to say in part 2 will deter people from watching, but regardless of such, it's, okay. Anyway, Kingdom Hearts 2 will be back underway, which I will no doubt have more to say about, and, in terms of anything else, well, here comes a helicopter to save people. Whoopee, so on that note, I'm Solidus-Skully, keep it new metal, and, look forward to Kingdom Hearts 2. Catch you next time, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.